So my name is Ryan Zimmerman. I am the community manager at New York Code and Design Academy. We are a boot camp coming here to town. We start our first classes in September. We're in 8 locations in the US, 5 locations in Europe, and I've had the job for about 3 weeks, so real quick, if you do need us, you can find our website right there. Please, somebody follow our Twitter account. I just started the other day. My personal Twitter account, my email address, my cell phone number if you need me. Look, we're always looking to help out JavaScript community in general, the Rails community in general. That's really what we focus on. If you need space for hosting any more events, money, funding, we can probably buy some beer next month. Let me know what we can do. Kind of what I'm going to be covering. A little bit about me. This makes more sense if you can kind of get the autobiographical reasons why I came up with this talk, and it'll probably make it a lot funnier too. Kind of what the future looks like, what we're having to deal with in JavaScript right now, resources that I have kind of scoured the internet to make sure I am not a fool again in my life, and then just some kind of wrap-up stuff. So this title should have been Why Ryan Was a Fool and How Not to Be Like Him. We've all been there, especially if you've been programming for any time. So in the beginning, I probably, 1991, I probably started coding on a 386 DX, 33 megahertz. I will remember that computer for the rest of my life. And, I kind of started with, Snake, and trying to make Snake go faster or slower, and a lot of us have been there with the QBasic. Hey, in high school, I was the first kid to ever take C++ in my high school, and unfortunately for my teacher, she didn't know anything about code, and I cheated the entire year. Went to college, went to a small college where the business school really had control of the CS program, and they had me sold on this whole idea of, great, young man, you'll be a database developer for the rest of your life. And I did not want to be a database developer, and no offense to database developers, but that's the worst thing on earth. But I did learn a couple really, really good things. I learned how to build things from the ground up. So, I dealt with C++, I dealt with Java, I dealt with having to go through a lot just to get a little bit out of it. And so I ended up 1 foot in, 1 foot out of programming for a long time. Sometimes in Visual Basic, sometimes a little bit of Python, sometimes in VB scripts. It was kind of all over the place. And what I ended up getting into was learning and development. And so I'm supposed to be this expert on how to teach people how to learn. This will become funnier here in a little bit. But whenever anybody's titled as an expert, never believe that. So kind of getting back into it, I started working for a company where what we had to do was create minimal viable products. And a lot of times those would have to be web apps of some sort. So I had to kind of dive into web development for the first time. And, I dove in and I found how easy it is to think that things are easy. And so I jumped into JavaScript and I'm like, oh my gosh, JavaScript's so simple, no problem. And then, oh, you can use jQuery. Wow, that just makes things all the much easier. I don't really need to learn that much more JavaScript. Sweet. And then I dug into Node and oh my gosh, look at these great tutorials on Node. I can just be such a great developer. Postgres came around, started using Postgres, started launching things to Heroku, felt like a champ. Got so excited about the libraries and NPM. You turn around, you've got 40 or 50 different libraries that I have starred that one day I will get to look at. And of course, I want to be cool, so I started using React. React is supposed to be just this next great thing. And it should be so easy to create things. So I'm creating these great things, and I've got these huge, huge, huge kind of observer patterns that are looking over everything, and it's just so awesome. And then, kind of the crap hit the fan. So I added in Redux. And Redux, oh my gosh, this is supposed to make everything so much better. And then I added in Firebase on the backside. So if you know what Firebase is, it's kind of like this serverless web hosting system. And then something broke. And I'm not really sure what it was. And I kind of came to this realization that I didn't know how anything worked that I was using. I mean, I knew how to use it, but I didn't know how any of it was actually working. So I kind of fell down the rabbit hole of a few emotions that I'm not very proud of, but There was confusion. There was me just questioning everything that existed. At one point, I swear, functions just didn't work at all. And then by the end of it, I had pretty much given up on life. And I think anyone who's been at this for a while has probably felt all three of these things. And I actually had to have another developer look at me and be like, dude, I do that 3 times a week. So, you know, this makes a lot of sense after kind of going through that. My code doesn't work, I have no idea why. My code works, I have no idea why. Here's kind of what I learned. I'm supposed to be this expert at how do you learn? How do you kind of start from remembering and how do you get to that spot where you're a creator? I come to find out that, that I didn't practice what I preached. And that happens when you're an expert. You kind of get full of yourself and you go in the wrong direction. And so I kind of recommitted myself to learning from the foundation up. And so, look, I think we learned JavaScript wrong. I think a lot of people are introduced to JavaScript wrong. I think it very much is the get stuff done language that exists out there. It's nobody's fault why that happens. It's just we learn it in this way of, you know, we want to get something done, that's why we use it. 20 years ago, it was created in 10 days, just so someone could, you know, manipulate the DOM. So that's not, you know, I think a lot of us in JavaScript, if we're introduced to it kind of in that way, it happens. But the future of JavaScript is kind of going in a different direction from the get stuff done mentality. So if you look over here, these companies right here are the companies that have the greatest influence on where JavaScript is going. They are the primary sponsors of the TC39 committee. They throw a lot of money at it. And when you come down to it, most of these companies aren't really known for JavaScript. They're known for other languages. So they have a lot of push on what's happening in ES6, ES7, ES8, ES9. There are already papers out there talking about why these are going to be so important. We've got all these frameworks that a lot of us become dependent on. I mean, I've been there. In some ways, I still am there. And then we've got this expansion, browser side, server side, mobile, desktop, we're looking at native. And with the open sources of NPM and GitHub, it's just this exponential growth that we're dealing with. No one can keep up with all of it, and no one can stay stagnant right now in JavaScript. You know, we always have to keep moving forward. You know, Redux was the great thing, and now everybody's talking about MobX, and 6 months from now, somebody will be talking about something else. So the future favors the people who can build things, and the builders establish these strong foundations. And what we come to find out when we look back at all these technologies that exist, all these frameworks, most of them weren't built by people who learned JavaScript first. They learned in these other languages, and they learned from this kind of ground-up mentality. And so I kind of scoured the internet for resources that we could look for to kind of rebuild that foundation. I shared this with in the meetup already, so the notes and everything are already there, the links. So there will be links in here, don't worry about taking notes or anything like that. You can go back into the JavaScript meetup and pull it up. So digging into the language a little bit deeper. 2 really good ones, Understanding the Weird Parts by Tony Alicia. This one's actually one you have to pay for, it's a video. I think the first half of it's online. It does a great job of explaining JavaScript in the way that the engine actually runs and operates, and starts talking about call stacks and event stacks and how those things run. You Don't Know JS by Kyle Simpson is kind of the CS way of looking at a language foundationally. I think it's an awesome way to dive into things. The other thing is, you know, we just need to learn enough computer science to get by. And it's actually hard to find computer science resources in JavaScript. There are some that kind of translate it, but there aren't really those huge arguments that you can really dig into. Stanford has a 101 on it, but Khan Academy actually has a really, really good computer science JavaScript course going on right now. Design patterns. If you want them, A.D. Asmani has his design pattern book. Some of these are kind of getting out of date with where ES6 is going. but many of these are still really, really good. It's open source on the internet right now. Testing. I'm actually not a big Jasmine guy. The greater some people actually turned me on a little bit more to Jasmine, and the fact that it's got this independent testing system that you can use that I thought was really, really cool. And if there's a pivotal person in here, I apologize, but the documentation for Jasmine is horrible if you're just trying to learn testing. But there's a lot of really, really good books on Jasmine. And this one's really, really good. There's a link over there for a free copy of it. And he goes through all of these different use cases that go on with that. Digging into the great work. And a lot of this great work is annotated. And it's annotated in depth for beginners who've never looked at these things. Underscore. If you go to this one right here, you can actually see side-by-side comparisons where they've written notes for every single line of code. jQuery with the developers build has line for line everything that they're doing in jQuery. And if you're new, you're young, you don't need to jump into this and think you're going to understand everything. But if you jump into it over and over and over again, things will start to make more sense as you learn more concepts. Hey, if you want to look at the DOM, DOM Enlightenment, this link here is getting a little old. It's actually from kind of the DOM 3 specifications, but it's really, really good. This link down here, how the browser works, is like the biggest deep dive into how a browser works I think you can possibly find out there. If we look over at frameworks, what I kind of pulled out was this thing of, hey, let's not fear the mystery of React. A guy by the name of Deathmood on Medium, I don't know if I'll ever come up with a attributed name to a guy like that ever again in my career, but Deathmood shows you in this first one how to build a virtual DOM of React in 50 lines of code, which is crazy. I didn't think it was going to be that easy. He's gone on to do props and events, and he right now is kind of working on his third and final piece of building out basically React, step-by-step tutorial. So just a little bit of us, really quick building a location. Hey, we've got a great boot camp. We've got great things. The one down here, I think, is the most important. So we created our own meetup group. Hopefully, we can help the JavaScript community. It's 2 meetups a week, and they're for beginners and experienced, and they're deep dives into topics on JavaScript. So we start off right in the beginning of each of these topics, and by the end, most people have kind of tapped out. But if you come over and over and over again, you have the opportunities to really dig into the language. So we tackle it from how the engine works, through functions, loops, all the way down to no longer worrying about the DOM. So if you're a young developer, come and hang out with us. We think we have some cool stuff to offer. Again, if you need us, website, my Twitter account, our Twitter account, email address, cell phone number down there. Sweet, thanks.